Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Lorelai Shmayo. This is the MeWe Fairs for energizing body, mind, heart, and soul. We have events throughout the Northwest and online, and we interview our practitioners and vendors to get a chance to know who we are before you meet us at an event. I'm here today interviewing Vanessa Perry. Vanessa, it's lovely to be with you.
It's good to be with you too.
So, what do you offer? What do you do at our events?
Well, I am an intuitive counselor. I am formerly a mental health therapist, so it's kind of the best of both worlds that I bring here. So I have my intuition that guides me and gives me messages, and then I have that counselor background so that we can, kind of go a little bit deeper into that part that comes up usually when the intuition tells us something.
Mhm. And maybe I like, well, so how did you know that you were intuitive? Like, and how did it emerge in your work? And how did you choose to do this in particular? And I just like, I'm imagining your intuition shows up in lots of different places in working with people.
Does.
Like, give us some more of a flavor of that.
Yeah. Well, so um, the beginning of like my counseling journey was in high school. They had a peer outreach team, and I was elected into that. And from there, it was just like I'm never doing anything else with my life. Like counseling is what it's so easy. And I think at that time, I kind of understood that I was a little bit more intuitive, but I didn't grasp what being an intuitive was. It was just kind of like I understand people, and I kind of get what people are saying when they're not really saying it. So it kind of like felt like it was going on up here in my brain. And my career was kind of rocky because I didn't really fit in with that clinical mental health scene. Mostly because I wanted to go off of my intuition. I wanted to sit and see what came in and talk about that. And it was like, you can't do that. You have to use the things that are provided, and that's all we can do. So that was kind of like how I knew that I couldn't fit into that space. But then you get around your tribe. I got around my tribe. They said, oh, I mean, that's being an intuitive. If you don't know where the messages are coming from, it's because they're not coming from inside your brain. They're coming from the spirit world. So that's been great to add in. It's really helpful for my clients. And yeah, I'm excited actually to blossom it more. I love it. It's so easy, it's so great, it's so wonderful.
Oh, it's great. Is it a newer step for you to just so own that you're doing this? Has it been a while?
It's new for me to say it out there. My clients have always kind of known, but I was licensed for a while, and that brought a lot of like fear that if the board comes after me and I'm saying that I'm like talking to the spirit world, that's not going to be very safe. So my clients have always known really that there's like something else going on, but now I can really own it now that I've let that red tape go. So it's so much more freeing to be able to hit these fairs and be on all of these different places where I can let that shine.
Yeah, that's great. And then maybe how does your therapy background impact? You said maybe to go a little bit deeper, maybe say a little bit more of like what are some examples of how that shows up, and does it impact the topics that you typically explore with people?
Sometimes I feel like it's such a help because I know for me, even personally, when I've gotten readings before, it's like you're left with this thing, right? Like, and you're just holding on to it. And sometimes it's heavy, or sometimes it's really like, I'd really like to unpack this. And maybe you don't have a therapist, or maybe your therapist doesn't want to hear that you got a card reading and that's where you got this information that you'd like to process. So for me, it's nice to be able to do that, to allow that to be part of the process for people, so that not only are they finding things and hearing things and being brought to certain realizations. I really do try to kind of lead versus give, unless they've asked me to give, so that it can be their process. But I find it, having that therapy background helps me kind of conceptualize once we need to step into that space, when they need to unpack it and go backwards and see where things kind of went awry, and reprogram basically. So that I think is, sometimes something that's really helpful for people when they get the kind of information that you get from someone who's intuitive.
Oh, that's great. Are there particular topics that you're like you do more often or that you love more than others? Do you have any specialties that way?
I have two, like one is kind of a personal soft spot, and that is all things like baby fertility, infertility, stuff like that, from a personal journey of mine. And so I will always take those people when they're drawn to me. But I also really thrive in people's transformations when they come up against a hard spot in their life where their soul is really, trying to come out and say, I need something different. I really love that when somebody comes and says, I just want to shake up my whole life. I'm like, let us shake it. Let's shake it all up. I will help you jump. I will have faith with you as we try to figure out what you really are meant to do. You think of someone maybe like a midlife crisis is what we call it. I call it your soul being like done with what you've been trying to make it do and just coming out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like to help people, like quit jobs and quit relationships and move other places in the world and just kind of build that inner strength that allows them to follow what their soul and heart are calling them to do.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Oh, and I don't remember when you first shared, you talked about how when you were working with people that you just knew other things, right? Other things showed up. Did you have any other suggestions that you might be intuitive before then?
Um, so it's kind of like interesting. I feel like people used to get annoyed with me because I would know, like, we would be watching a movie. Yes, exactly. You watch a movie and you just know what's going to happen. What, did you watch the movie without me? Like, no, and you kind of, for a while, until again, you have that label, you think, well, I'm just smart. Right? Like, I mean, it just makes sense. But when you take it apart, you're like, no, I just got the message that was what was going to happen. So things like that, I think, have come along. I've had people, that are, full all in tell me, but it was a little scary for me to use the word for myself. So, other people that are mediums and intuitive saying, oh yeah, you'll figure it out when it's time to figure it out. So, that leads you down that path of wondering and, kind of expanding on that. But yeah, I mean, I think that there are those little breadcrumbs along the way, but when your life is structured in a certain way, there's a little bit of fear.
Hmm.
So you don't grab onto
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that you're comfortable now and you're able to openly share what you do. Great.
It's great.
If people want to learn more about you, connect with you on the web, where do they go?
Well, I have a website, which is www.vanessaperry.net. I am also on Instagram at c.stars.psych, as in like psychology. And I am on Facebook, facebook.com/Vanessa Perry Counselor. And I mean, if you like email, good old email, you can email me at vanessaperrycounselor.gmail.com.
Great. Great. Well, it's exciting to have you and your work at our events. So looking forward to sharing with more people. Right. And all of you listening or watching, you can find out more about all of our events at mewefairs.com. That's MEWEFAIRS.com. And Elote decided to join us for this video. Thank you so much, Vanessa, for sharing the spot with him.
Thank you. I love him. I think he's great.
And you said you have a dog that's a twin too. So
yes,
we almost had two on screen.
Just like my Coco. Coco's ears are a little bit less pointy, but
his aren't always this pointy. Well, hopefully they get a chance to meet in person sometime.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, great. Well, thanks everyone for listening and watching. All right.